Hello and welcome to another installment of Behind the Roleplay on the Arc of Fire Gaming Network. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for watching the previous episodes. We love doing this and talking to people and having them share with us about their roleplay experience and just interviews in general. We actually have a very special guest today. He is kind of a man of mystery, so to speak. I'm just playing off of his name, but let's get right to it. Gypsy Enigma is our newest guest here on Arc of Fire Gaming Network Behind the Roleplay. I met this fella on Final Fantasy XIV, and it has been marvelous ever since. So let's get right over to it. What's up, sir?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, man. So you are Gypsy Enigma. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
hear.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here today, my friend. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Well, let's see. I'm autistic. I'm a dungeon master for multiple platforms, ranging from LARP to Dungeons and Dragons to other MMOs, and that's just about it. Not too much more than that.
Gotcha. Okay. And we'll get right into the topic of conversation is role play. Obviously, since this is behind the role play, we want to know about what makes you tick for the role play, why you role play, and why we're all kind of attracted to each other in that fashion. We all kind
hmm
of meet up, we find fellow role players, and you know as well as I do, if you get near somebody who's not a role player, they don't get it. They just don't get it. They'll play role playing games, but they just won't understand the level of immersion and detail that we go into like that. So tell us why you like role play and about you and how you've learned to adapt to it.
So, for me, role playing has always been an outlet. Growing up with autism, I have always had that horrible social anxiety that has caused me to miss social cues, caused me to feel very self conscious. However, role playing has allowed me to evolve and adapt in a way that going to classes or interacting with people in person never could. Starting back when I used to play WoW, I used to role play all the time, and I would learn all these different social cues and the etiquettes of how to have a one on one or multi conversation. Ever since then, role playing has been not just an outlet, but a passion that has stemmed into many other passions of mine.
Yeah, I can totally understand that one. Funny story. I got my first role play chops, so to speak, from I know this is gonna date me really hardcore Ultima Online because I remember playing that top down 2D game, which you can still play today. And I remember
hmm
trying to role play with people, and you had to type everything.
hmm
And I loved it. I couldn't really find that many role players, but I loved it. Uh, did you ever play that one?
Not that one. Uh, the first game like that that I played, that I role played with people, was EverQuest, OG EverQuest, and
Oh, snap.
RuneScape.
Nice.
Yeah, I was an OG MMO player. I am an OG MMO player
Whew.
from EverQuest 1 to EverQuest 2, RuneScape, City of Heroes. Yes, City of Heroes is still kicking, believe it or not. Uh,
Wow. I played
but
City of
yeah.
Heroes. EverQuest 2 was my jam. I absolutely adored the aspect of when you walk into a city, it sounded crowded. I think that was the first time I'd ever heard that in an MMO. Because I played
Yes.
Star Wars uh, Galaxies and loved
Mhm.
that game, but there wasn't this aspect of just lots of people. And EverQuest 2, you walked into that city and it's and all this stuff. I think it was one of the first times I'd ever used the walk mechanic, the RP walk. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. So
So one of them.
I noticed on your repertoire here that you played ESO as well, and I'm bringing that up
Yes.
specifically because ESO is, ooh, it's its own flavor. It really is its own flavor. So tell me a little bit about your ESO experience, because I'd love to commiserate with you, so to speak.
So my love for ESO actually stems from my love for Elder Scrolls Arena
Hmm.
back when it took you 4 months to get from one part of the map to the other. And ESO allowed me to basically refeel Arena, but on a mass multiplayer scale.
Yeah.
In regards to ESO, I have been a role player since the how's the term the halcyon days of ESO when it
Oh
first came
wow.
out.
Yeah.
And I've been a role player ever since, and I'm a very lore buff type of role player. People always disliked the how the Dunmer were slavers and the Argonian slaves, the Dunmer and both Argonian and Nords, like the hatreds, the diplomacy with the Daggerfall Covenant and the Aldmeri Dominion. And so there's all that just drove me, and all the lore books that you could read.
Yes.
I personally played a scholar who would actually go and study the Daedric ruins. I actually learned how to read Daedric runes, so I could read all the Daedric dungeons, uh, the anchors that fell from the sky.
Oh yeah,
Like to
yeah,
this
yeah.
day, I can still read Daedric to this day.
Nice. Okay. All right. All right. You're definitely you're hitting that niche right there, man. I'm loving it. That kind of detail. I remember playing Skyrim, and I played the one before it as well, Oblivion. But Skyrim was obviously it's like the pinnacle of Elder Scrolls for everybody, and common to super hardcore. They just love that game. It's a good game.
Yeah.
I found this guy online. He took all of the books in the game because they write all of these. And I mean they're not like 120-page books, but they're usually I've seen some that were like 20 pages or something.
Hmm.
This guy took all of them out of the game code and he put them on to where you could download it for your Kindle. And I've got all of them from
What?
Skyrim. That's from the
That's
end game of the
insane.
Skyrim. So it's all like I'm sitting there and I'd be playing Skyrim and I'd go, I want to read this book, but I don't want to read it right here. And I got to get off. So I'd look it up on my Kindle and I'd go, okay, I'm going to read this throughout the day. And then I'd come back and know what they were talking about. Oh,
So what you're saying is you have the lusty Argonian maid on your Kindle.
that is accurate. That is accurate. Um, oh, Elder Scrolls. And I know you're looking forward to the new one, I would assume.
I am. I'm keeping myself ignorant of any information that might be coming from it,
Same.
but you know things are going to get ruined on it. It always happens in this modern day of technology. However, I am looking forward to it immensely. I
Mm-hmm.
actually just bought VR Skyrim for Steam because I plan
Ooh.
on getting a VR system. I'm going to start streaming a kind of a VR Skyrim roleplay. So it's going to be just episodic, doing things in Skyrim VR, voicing my character, doing things only he would do, which is so like under maxing the potential of Skyrim, but that's the beauty of role playing.
You are absolutely right about that one. Now, have they made that multiplayer in any capacity?
Not the VR. I know
Oh,
that the game on PC outside of VR They have started making it multiplayer through a mod, but I'm not entirely sure how far it's gone. I haven't really kept up to date with it.
Hmm. I tell you, man, I'm this new Elder Scrolls coming out. I'm hoping, I like my Elder Scrolls to be single player, and then I like
Mhm.
ESO. But I'm really hoping they'll have something that was akin to Fables, what they called couch co-oping, where like you
Yes.
could select only like three other players to play with you or something on Elder Scrolls. That's what I'm kind of hoping for in the next
Mhm.
one. You don't have to at all. You can do the whole game without anybody. But if you wanted to, they would scale up the hardness based on how many
Mhm.
people you have and what their level is, kind of like what 14 does.
Also, kind of, if you think about it, it's also what Diablo 3 does.
Yeah,
If you have multiple people in Diablo 3, it amps up the difficulty. What I'm hoping they do with the new Elder Scrolls game is make it optional multiplayer.
right.
So you could invite like 4, 6, 12 friends to join you, however big, and it would just increase the difficulty of the mobs. That's what I'm hoping they do, but at the same time, it's very
We'll
possible
enjoy
it would
whatever
be
they
too
send
big.
us.
Exactly. I've
Okay.
started seeing too many memes about the next Elder Scrolls never getting released. Like people up in their 60s. "Oh, I've waited a great long while for the new Elder Scrolls to come out,
Mm.
but it never has."
That's that's gonna be an interesting thought, don't you think? Like the Elder Scrolls series. I mean, they're going based off of regions, but at some point
Hmm.
they're gonna finish all the regions. They're either gonna make up new ones or they're gonna go back. So you're gonna be like Skyrim 400 years later or something
Mm.
like that. But I love the aspect that when we're dead and gone, people will still be able to play Elder Scrolls and new Elder Scrolls games because
Well,
I don't think they're ever going to stop making them.
I don't know. It's very possible they might not, but at the same time, after they're done with Tamriel, they still have Akavir. They have other continents in the world of Nirn that they could use.
Yeah,
But if they do or not is the question. I think, if nothing else, ESO is going to keep kicking strong.
yeah,
And I'm excited about that. ESO is a fantastic MMO. Like you said before, it in itself is its own unique flavor. Like it's not Rocky Road, it's not vanilla, it's not chocolate. It's strawberry preserve with a sprinkle of creative intuition. Like, in and itself is a fantastic MMO that I've always loved to play.
yeah. I'd completely agree with you on that one. My thought is they're going to do, I hope they do something similar to Final Fantasy
Hmm.
because I played Final Fantasy XI and that's when I fell in love with it because of the aesthetics of it, the way it looked and how it felt. And I never really got super into it. I only got to like level 20, 25 before I did other things with my life. And then coming back as more of an adult and now playing 14, in my opinion, 14 is the best parts of 11 and its own new flavor
Hmm.
altogether. Um, which leads us into some of your characters that you play, that you and I play together in
Hmm.
Final Fantasy 14. But that's what I'm kind of hoping with ESO is they're going to do an ESO at this time frame, then they're going to do an ESO at this time frame, and you're going to have fans of both. And then they're just going to keep doing that because that's one thing about Final Fantasy I like is 11, 14, and then I don't know 18 is going to be an MMO. Who knows? They always kind of pick one, and the game just keeps getting better, but it's still its own thing.
Yeah. I don't know. If they do, that'd be cool. But I also think it'd be nice if ESO, it has that own unique identity that I hope they do keep with.
Yeah,
Like if you'll notice, they're adding in different regions slowly and in smaller quantity to try to prolong its life,
Right.
they don't really need to do that. The life of the game is already there's so much content in it that yeah, prolonging the life, it's prolonging itself.
Yeah.
Because the open world PvP in Cyrodiil, the open world PvP everywhere else, the dungeons, the Rift style world encounters like that they're bringing in and stuff. Like the game itself has so much to go for it that they don't really need to make another MMO if they're just going to build onto this one.
That's true. I would completely agree with you on that one because I got a chance to play their Skyrim expansion and was floored. I loved going back to some of those cities, and I was like, I've
Mhm.
been there. Oh my god. Oh, this
Yes.
is where my house is in about 1,000 years. But yeah. So what kind of character do you typically play on ESO right now? Like his
So,
name and her name or whatever.
yeah. So right now I'm playing a dark elf scholar by the name of Kaelu Nethrandia. I am traveling across Tamriel uncovering the history and the lore behind the Daedra. Exiled from my home, I hope to obtain that which none of my kind have been able to, an understanding of life, death, and Aetheria, the
Mm,
realm of magic.
mm. I saw it, man. I can see it in your eyeballs. Like you shifted, you changed into somebody else right then, and I can tell your voice acting, and you're good at it because that's we all do it. We all kind of
Mm,
shift into that character. We are that person, which will bring us up to a topic where I'll discuss a little bit later about even more detail about D&D and LARPing and how it all kind of melds together. That's why it's like the perfect union when you have good RPers, you have games that are conducive to that, and you find people who love it.
mhm,
Which it's going to lead me into the next topic of conversation, which would be Final Fantasy XIV
mhm.
and the amazing Selena Foundation. So tell us a little bit about your wonderful character that I don't think I've had as much time with as I've always wanted to, but Karasu Aogane. Tell us a little
Yeah,
bit about her.
yeah. So Karasu Aogane, initially a male Viera, and yes, I had this whole thing planned long before they were implementing male Viera. I never thought they would, but Karasu Aogane is an interesting character in the sense that he was orphaned, adopted by a Rayen swordmaster. And when he was adopted, he was then taught the Aogane style, a very much a intricate style that relies on misdirection, illusion, and trickery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he himself was betrayed and deceived by an alchemist who gave him a certain elixir that was meant to help him with nightmares. But when he woke up, he was not a he was a woman. Luckily, he was a woman of his own race, but he was a woman nonetheless. So now he is a she, and she is hunting the alchemist, trying to obtain the knowledge to get back what he had lost or she had lost.
Mm-hmm.
And by using the Selena Foundation as a home base of sorts, their resources to help him hunt the damnable alchemist. Very much a keep to her own kind of person. So it makes sense why you haven't had a chance to really roleplay with her much when her pastimes when she's not teaching people how not to die. She tends to read, do research on ways of turning back the clock of time, as you might say, and become what she once was.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him in game. That's an elaborate story. How long you think it took you to come up with that?
So that story actually was a evolutionary tale. The first rough draft of Karasu was that he was an orphan in Ulda who met a samurai, and then that story got changed. It kind of adapted to something much more complex when I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to play around with Fantasias, but I wanted it to be immersive. I wanted it to make sense. Why am I playing a woman? Why am I this? Why am I that? Why
Yeah.
am I who I am? And so it took me about a year with the initial rough draft and about 2 years for the finishing touches. And I've been playing for roughly 3, 4 years.
Okay. Now, have you been with the Selena Foundation the entire time, or is that a
Oh,
newer development?
that's a newer development.
Okay.
Karasu had been solo hunting for years. Only recently had he joined the Selena Foundation because they required a instructor for their eastern branch. When they found his methods to be effective, though brutal as they are, they hired him on. And now he's with the Western branch under request from his superiors in the East. And now he's teaching the interesting students and instructees at the current branch, though he finds them very exhausting.
Well, I think you're going to get an opportunity to teach the little potato that is R.R. Keeson, Fifi Keeson, at some point, because he
Mhm.
is definitely a Magitech's not the right word, but he really likes fire, and he likes to find ways to imbue magic into something for a different
Mhm.
effect. He's just a curiosity rolled up into a nice, fully loaded potato. If that's more of a reference line I can use. Um, so I think you're going to get an opportunity to see where he's at because I think I am going to have a room soon. I'm not sure when, and I'm trying to tailor that room to be interesting, very interesting. You're going to walk in and you're going to go, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, yep, that's RR, yep, that's him." Uh,
Mhm.
so Final Fantasy Selena Foundation. How did you find the Selena Foundation? What brought you there and made you stay there? I should say as well.
Are you talking out of character or in character?
A little bit of both. I'll be honest with you. A little bit of both.
So, in character, it was the amount of resources that they have in order for me to accomplish my goals.
Mm-hmm.
Out of character, I found the Selena Foundation through Nin.
Siren Song.
She, yeah, Siren Song. She introduced me to them, invited me to the FC. Since then, I've been a part of it. It's been a lot of fun, if not a little struggling at times due to work,
Yeah,
but it's been a lot of fun.
yeah. I wish I had more time to be on with everybody as well. I do understand that struggle. You have it a little more intensely than I do, working as a night shift, right?
That is accurate. Working, I'm a night stalker over at Walmart.
Ooh.
Uh, 10-hour shift, 4 days a week. Uh, I now have 3 days off, but I hate gaming around people. So my housemate, I just cannot game around my housemate. which makes it hard for me to play video games like whenever I want to, and it's just all a big issue. Like, Ans has actually hit me up a few times wondering if I'm okay, and I keep telling her I'm perfectly fine, just night shift.
Yeah, I bet that can eat away at you pretty intensely. But
Yeah, I miss everyone dearly.
yeah. Well, we do appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking some time for this interview. I really
Mhm.
do. I know we had a bit of a bear trying to get it coordinated, but I'm glad you're here. I really am. This means a lot to me and the viewers at Arc of Fire Gaming Network. Uh,
Yeah, well, I just hope they enjoy it. I know sometimes stuff like this can be very uh can be good or bad depending on the guests that you have.
yeah.
So,
Well, you've got a
and
cat in the background, so you're automatically winning. So
it's
who is this?
Lucille. Her name is Lucille. She's actually my housemate's cat,
Oh,
but she likes me more than him.
I was just noticing that. Like, I can't even get my cats to sit up near me.
See, the thing with cats that a lot of people don't realize is, and people think cats are they're like, oh, I'm not owned by the human's owned by me. That's not necessarily true. At least with Lucille and my cat I have back in Texas. Cats adapt to the personalities of those around them.
Hmm.
So I'm a very laid back and down to earth individual who I game in my little chair for long periods of time when I have time off. And here she is, all my little gaming partner. Whenever I'm asleep in bed, she's right there with me, sleeping with me instead of my housemate, which he hates so much.
Now, I'm guessing you set up a little table just so she could be right there near you.
Actually, no. I use a what are they called? It's not a recliner. It's a futon chair.
Oh, okay.
I have a futon chair, and the back of it is wide enough for her to just lie down on it.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's literally built for me and she to just sit here and game.
Nice. Perfect union. Perfect union. It's
I
like
am one of yin and yang.
all I thought of when you said that was it's like you took the Makote and split it into the person and the cat. So you are the actual embodiment of a Makote. Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Where do
yeah.
I come up with this stuff?
I mean, you could also put it that I am going a little bit back to Elder Scrolls. I am a Khajiit under a certain moon, and Lucille is a Khajiit under a certain moon, and our friendship is strong.
That's role players right there. We're the only ones that come up with stuff that cool. Right there. Everybody right there. That was amazing. Um So before we branch off into a thousand topics away, I actually want to step into more of a voice acting realm, and
Okay.
I know you mentioned something about you have a lot of pride in your Germanic heritage, and I'd love for you to tell everybody what that means to you and why it means something to you in detail, because some people won't understand why that's a point of pride as connected to voice acting.
So I'm German, Texan, if you want to put a ethnicity to me.
Right.
My family came from Germany during World War II, and German culture is still very much a part of our heritage, part of our day-to-day lives. Um, and so with me doing like a German accent for voice acting or for voice work, it helps with my German speaking because ich spreche Deutsch. And when I speak German, I use a more German dialect of English so that I can actually speak German a bit more accurately.
Mm-hmm.
So if you if I go to a German speaker, they will definitely know that it's an accent I'm putting on because I'm not from das Vaterland, but it helps.
Right.
And that branches off to other accents such as Russian. Strong like bear is Russian, which Russian also branches down to Mongolian. I'm
Hmm.
not going to try my Mongolian accent because it's atrocious. But then it's just voice acting in itself helps with languages. It's like as I portrayed earlier with my Dunmer or Dark Elf, my English accent often can branch off to more of an Irish if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Now, I pride myself on the Northern Dublin accent because it's the one I'm most fond of, and then I'll go a bit more north to stereotypical Scottish. Although I've been told my accent's very much Edinburgh, which is I have a lot of friends over in Edinburgh, so that's where the inspiration comes from. My
Right.
Omi taught me how to speak German when I was young. The German goes into the accent, in which the accent then roots into different accents because accents are just so much fun to do.
Yeah, I would agree completely on that because it's like makes me think of and scene. Like your brain goes in. I'm in this. I'm doing this right now. I'm this person.
Mm,
And I know this is going to sound horrible. Regular folk don't quite get that. Um, but when you get into people who really like to get into acting, because voice acting can lead to real acting.
mhm.
Some people can't. But the whole aspect is internal change, a switch, and you use the voice as the trigger for the switch. And anybody who
Yeah.
does voice acting completely understands that. And if you've never done it, I recommend you try it. Pick an accent that you think you might like, and then go, "This would be cool." Just do
Mhm.
what you think is going to be cool, and then you can branch off to more complex stuff later. Uh, I wanted to share with you briefly my version of a German accent that I have based it off of one of my favorite actors and directors, Werner Herzog.
Mm.
So my character, his name is Dean Stark, and I basically made him to be like the great 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 grandfather of Tony Stark because I use
Mhm.
him in the Old West, and he goes because you have the German accent, and then you have his accent, which is I always call it like rusty. It's salty. It's it's got a lot of the tones in it shaved off because I wouldn't call it gravelly. Gravelly doesn't quite fit it. But let's see. Let me take a sip here. See if I can get in the mood.
Mhm.
My name is Tony Stark. My name is Dean Stark. If you would like weapons, I can certainly help you with that. I try to, and it probably branches more into Austrian than it does anything else.
I
But
was about to
yeah,
say.
as soon as I said that, I went, nope, that's Austrian. But regardless, it's I love it. Still's in the similar regions of that,
Mhm.
and I don't know what it was. I watched him in The Mandalorian, and that's where it really triggered it. Went, I just fell in love with that accent. I went, I've got to
Mhm.
mimic it. I've got to go listen to everything this guy's done, and I'm still doing it because there's something about it. When I rewatch some recordings I had done or some live streams I had done with that character, and I haven't played him that much, I literally went, I want to know who this person is. I love that accent. I'm sorry. I'm ranting on my own subject here.
Oh no,
I
you're
love
fine. You're fine. See, it's your show. You should have the right to rant a little bit on your own show.
it.
And all I'm gonna say to that is that was definitely more of an Austrian.
Yeah,
However, the Austrian accent is such a beautiful accent in itself.
right.
Anytime I throw my German accent in, I have one of two German accents. I go either like the more traditional rustic High Berliner, wie ich Hallo, mein Freund, wie geht es dir? It's much stronger.
Right.
And then I do my more casual German accent, which is Hallo, mein Freund, wie geht es dir? Du bist gut, ja? Das ist wunderbar.
Gotcha.
Which is much more casual, much more just using my own voice, but adding a little bit of a accent. But
Yeah.
started playing more Red Dead with like Anns and them, and the accent with the character I'm going with on that is actually very much a German Texan hybrid
Hmm.
accent, which oh, it is atrocious and amazing all at the same time because it takes some of my southern patterns that I use a lot of times whenever I'm just talking, and then adds in a bit of German. So it sounds like I'm a Texan trying to speak with a German accent,
Or
and
a
it's
German trying to speak with a Texan accent.
exactly, and it's terrible, but I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I think historically, you'd have a German coming over, and he's like, "Well, I'm in the old West. I'm
Hmm.
gonna howdy, cowboy." They're gonna try to be that way. 100 Ways to Die in the Old West. Did you ever see that? That what made me think
By
of is
Seth
Liam
MacFarlane.
Neeson was in that. Yes, Liam Neeson was
Yeah.
in that. Now, the story behind that is Liam Neeson was in it because in Family Guy they did a throwaway line where Seth MacFarlane basically said, "How can an Irishman ever do a cowboy accent?" And
And
then he
if I
was in it.
recall, and if I recall, Liam Neeson was only accepted the role in that movie because he was allowed to use his Irish accent.
Yes,
I
yes,
saw that interview and it mm,
it's
just
brilliant.
amazing.
It's
It was definitely brilliant.
I tell you, that's the stuff I'd love to get into, filmmaking and stuff. That kind of detail. I think anybody who loves cinematography and movies and stuff, that's the kind of stuff we want to get into, and the neat little connections you can make like that. That's the reason I do it. It's the reason I like making machinimas and doing interviews. I just love this little
Mhm.
details and how things hook together. And anyway, I could go for miles on that too, because this is what I love, y'all. This is what I like doing. I'm so glad you wanted to do this interview and be on the show. Uh, I think I think we're looking good as far as everything else. The only thing I wanted to touch on one more time and a little bit more detail, just to wrap this up, would be
Mhm.
the connection between voice acting, D&D, and LARP, and in more of a personal manner that I know we haven't really touched on. We've glanced at it, but I want to see from your perspective everything we know about you, all the subjects we were just talking about, why those things are near and dear to your heart. Because most of us in the nerd realm start with tabletop games. We start with D&D. I mean, I would say some people can start with video games, but we all kind of gravitate to
Mhm.
tabletop and role play like that.
So, believe it or not, I actually started out LARPing before tabletop, before video games. It was just me. I grew up with not very many friends,
Right.
and so I ended up creating other me's in my imagination. I was a noble lord, my squire, and my best friend, and I LARPed my stories. These intricate stories that only made sense to my 5-year-old brain. And then I made a friend, and he is now my housemate up in Washington. Well, from LARPing, I went to 3.5 D&D, where my very first character was a wood elf druid who did not comprehend the common language to the point to where there were certain phrases he could not grasp. One of which I was running down in a bear form towards a wooden fort, more like a wooden keep
Right.
that was surrounded by bandits. And my family, they kept yelling, "Stop! You can't go down there! You're going to die! Stop!" And all I shouted back, and keep in mind I was 8 years old. "I don't speak. Stop!" And I just ran down in this bear form, and my family busted out laughing. Yeah, I didn't understand why they were laughing. I was so in character that whenever my character got knocked out in real life, I fell asleep for like 4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got so into character. I am very much a method type role player.
Right.
Like I do the physicalities of my character, do the facial expressions. And whenever I'm at work, I voice my character, trying to find the voice for the character that I'm playing. Is he an orc? Where his tusks are a bit too big for his jaw? Or is he a halfling, tugging a little faster, a little softer, with a higher pitch? Or is he a normal human with a different accent? Or is he a high elf, in which all high elves have to be English for whatever reason?
Yep. Yep.
And so D&D, tabletops, the whole shebang is near and dear to my heart because being German, being Texan, and being autistic all in the same trifecta in the time I was growing up was a horrible trifecta.
Right.
I had teachers and parents who didn't like the fact that I was proud of my German heritage. I had people unhappy at the fact that I was autistic because I was just different,
Hmm.
and they didn't know how to handle that. And then the whole just getting all into the controversies of Texans having a very closed mind at the time, at that time, with it all. It was very difficult. And so getting into D&D, getting into LARPing, getting into video games helped me escape from all of that.
Right.
It kept me with a sense of identity that I couldn't have because my family didn't know how to handle it. My teachers didn't know how to handle it. Society didn't know how to handle it. The doctors said that I would myself before 18 that I'd never graduate or hold a job. Well, I put two fingers up to them because I did it.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to D&D, all thanks to LARPing, all thanks to having this outlet in role playing that gave me the strength to do that which I was told would be impossible and made it possible.
I am. I know. I know you and I are newly friends, but I wanna. I wanna boldly say I'm proud of you, and I know everybody watching is definitely proud of you as well, man. Because that is an aspect of the human existence, and I was told something similar about not being able to walk, and beat all of that. Doesn't exist anymore. I'm walking, everything's fine. We're all good, you know? So don't listen to them. Keep doing what you're doing. Become
Hmm.
even better than who you are. There are so many different outlets in this world that help you become a better person and become the person you want to be. Take
Hmm.
those outlets. I can't even fathom, no joke, like thinking about a doctor sitting down or a psychologist sitting down going, hmm, I wonder if assuming the role of a dark elf who's in love with an orc and has a fascination for fire would help this person recover from mental trauma. I can't even fathom somebody thinking that, but I'm betting
It
that's
has.
happened.
It has, which that actually brings up a funny story. I used to work at a hospital. Well, I joined a D&D campaign while I was working at the hospital, and you wouldn't believe the DM was a doctor at that hospital. He was the leading surgeon at that hospital.
Yeah.
And if anyone who watches this is familiar with Lufkin, Texas, shout out to my hometown. Uh, one of the doctors there, I don't know if he's still working there, ran a party with me, and two nurses at his place, and because he was fascinated by like all the stuff I just told you, I told him, and he was fascinated. Little did I know that he was writing down notes, almost as though I was giving him tips on DMing, but instead it was tips on how to diagnose someone with Asperger's syndrome, what signs to
Nice.
look out for. Like, and he, before I left that job, he actually pulled me aside and he showed me this booklet, this journal of a bunch of different notes that he took down of our sessions of him analyzing me, and he that made me freaking cry
Wow.
because the high school I went to, Hudson, Texas, in Hudson, Texas, uh, they have a autism. They actually have a autism funding now because of me. Because I was able to appeal to the mayor, I was able to appeal to the local government
Hmm.
there and get a higher funding. Now they have something that can help people with autism there. And that doctor that I worked with, now he is able to help people and diagnose them with this. And it's just, how does the term go? When people get woke, the world is no longer one eye shut.
Right. Man, that's a good story, bro. Definitely. You may have set that research forward by many years just by being you and sharing that experience. So that's pretty amazing, bro. And uh, I think that wraps it up for us here today. I want to definitely thank you so much for being here and on the show. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I'd love to have you back to have some more conversations about other stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, Arcafire Gaming Network has different interview sections. This is behind the role play. We have a music of vibes. We have one just bullshitting and talking, and any subject we want to talk about that's nerd related, we can get back together and just hit it. You know what I mean? So
Well, yeah. Well, and thank you so much for having me. I don't like I've watched some of your streams and I've enjoyed every one that I've watched, but I will say you don't realize how much this means to me. As someone who loves voice acting, as someone who loves performing in the theater arts, what you've given me this morning is a spark of what I used to have whenever I was performing on stage. And I will be honored to come back on the show anytime you want me to.
man,
So I want to thank you for all the things you do, for doing this, for all the people that you help with your videos and your streams. Keep up the fantastic work helping people get seen and recognized out there.
I appreciate you
And
saying that, man. Jeez. All right.
let's work together in making the world of role players. Let's join Critical Role's efforts in helping it be more accepted. Because honestly, role players all around need to feel comfortable and safe.
Yeah, I completely
And
agree.
and I genuinely think that you're helping that every video you make.
I appreciate you saying that, man. There is plans in the future to do some what would you call it, to play some D&D tabletop via these networks and stuff like that. Since we can't be here in person, I'm working with a few of my friends locally as well to try to integrate a system that is both like a few of us here, like 3 or 4 of us sitting at a table, and you being able to be there and interact. I've been working on that for about a year now, trying to make that happen and be integrated. And everybody, I think we just found a new member to join the team. So I'm sure he'll be on board. I know one of my friends on the Discord. Epic Ball Dad. He's all on board for it as well. So I
Mm.
think we got a cast and crew of people that will definitely step up and be amazing at it. So I think we got something going for the future, and let's keep going here. Now, what I wanted to talk to further here is I want to greatly appreciate everybody being here today and whatnot. Thank you, Enigma, as well, for doing the interview. And remember, we got a lot of great things going on here at Arcafire Gaming Network. I have Iron Bristle Studios, which you will see some of the links down below, where we do some painting, bullshitting. I always love to bullshit. Who doesn't like the bullshit, right, Enigma? I mean, who doesn't
Hey,
like
man.
doing that? So check all that out. I stream as much as I possibly can. Typically, it's 3 days a week, maybe even four if I can step it up. I also have a YouTube channel for everything. And remember, stay gaming, stay happy, always have your drink full, and bullshit whenever you can.
That's-
Thanks, Enigma.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on the next exciting adventure of Arcafire Gaming Network's Behind the Roleplay.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!